It's my distinct pleasure to welcome each and every one of you here this morning for our annual economic conference. We have a short time together this morning, so we'd like to get right to our presentation while you're enjoying your breakfast. We're thrilled with the turnout this morning, particularly given the fact that for 11 of the last 14 days, the college and the foundation office have been without power. So it's a testament to everyone who was here that they just stayed the course and kept the faith and arrived here this morning. So we thank you all very much for being here. We have over 200 people who are here this morning, men and women who are in the business world, people from the staff and the faculty of Tunxis Community College, people who are on the foundation board, and certainly our guest speaker who we'll introduce very shortly. All of our sponsors are listed in the program book that's on your tables, but we particularly would like to thank ESPN for stepping up to the plate and becoming our presenting sponsor. The foundation board has always been fortunate to have someone on it from ESPN. Jackie Bracco served for a number of years as a member of our board and as chairman of our scholarship committee. And although she's no longer a board member, she continues to serve in a scholarship role because it's something that she very much enjoys being involved with. And so we want to thank her for her years of service, but more than that, she was replaced by another fellow with a booming voice who was one of the early employees of ESPN, who's still there today, who's now a member of our board. We're deeply in his debt, not only as a board member, but also for getting us our speaker this morning. I want to thank Chuck Pagano. Thank you, Chuck. I also want to thank the committee that worked so hard on this event. Planning for this event starts some 8 or 9 months prior to the event, with decisions on format and location and so forth. We had a very good committee in place this year. It was chaired by Tim Fitch, and I want to thank Tim for all of his hard work. I also want to thank and acknowledge one other person who stepped up to the plate, so to speak. I think that would be the theme for this morning. When our executive director was offered a position with the Hartford Board of Education and left us, she made a recommendation for a replacement, and we went with that recommendation after interviewing a number of people. And we certainly have found that somebody who can run our programs and service the foundation board in an excellent manner. She had her mettle tested, so to speak, over the last 2 weeks, and I want to thank her very much for her tenacity and dedication and for the hard work she did. Jennifer Tunxis. Jennifer? And finally, I want to offer a warm welcome to our speaker, who you'll be hearing from shortly, Sam Kennedy. Sam is the president of Fenway Sports Management, and he's the Red Sox EVP and COO. We look forward to your insight on business strategies with major league results. Welcome here this morning, Sam. I just want to quickly say that the work of the Tunxis Community College Foundation is very important to all of us who serve on the board. It's certainly more important to the students who are the beneficiaries of the funds that we raise and the activities that we undertake. We give an increasing amount of money every year, $45,000 or $50,000 in scholarships to students who will be attending Tunxis Community College. We have a student emergency fund for students who find themselves, for whatever reason, suddenly without bus fare or needing to replace a book that was lost or stolen. We have a president's discretionary fund and a number of other manners, from prizes for art contests to other things that are requested by the students or the faculty at Tunxis Community College. We consider our role to be very important because the students that we touch are tomorrow's business people, they're tomorrow's leaders, and they're people that we believe that a significant investment is certainly warranted in making. And so we are very happy on behalf of the foundation to say that we've had very successful economic conference events in the past, but we expect this year through this event to raise over $60,000 for the foundation's activities. And I thank you all very much for your support. student speaker for this morning, Jackie Densky. Jackie's been at Tunxis since the spring of 2010 as a full-time student. She's working toward her associate's degree in liberal arts and science, and she'll major in psychology. Her goal is to become a marriage, couples, and family counselor. She resides in Terryville with her children, and as you'll hear, Tunxis Community College Foundation helped to make Jackie's educational career possible. Please help me welcome Jackie Densky. Jackie?
Good morning. It's such an honor to be among you today. About 10 years ago, I was a proud sales director, supervising over 30 people and driving a company car. That dream was abruptly ended with the birth of my third child because I was unable to work the hours needed to make the production. I was devastated and lost, so I followed the advice of a friend and got my license in real estate. 2 years later, the market crashed, and I was left wondering what I wanted to be when I grew up. While searching for a new job, it seemed like you needed a college education or a degree to be in fast food. So after much soul searching, I knew that I had to go back to school. Homework, taking tests, attending classes with students the same age as my own children seemed a little intimidating. So I decided to go to Tunxis Community College. It was local, it was comfortable, in size, and it seemed more affordable than the other campuses in the area. And then I found out how much books cost. It is $100, if not more, for each book. And as a full-time student, I was taking 4 classes, and that's over $400. And I don't know how kids fresh out of high school even afford it. I didn't know how me, an unemployed mother of 3, was going to afford it. With the help of the Tunxis Financial Aid Office, I learned about many of the scholarships offered through the Tunxis Foundation. One application reads numerous scholarship opportunities, which made the process very simple. However, as a new student, I didn't think I really had a chance of getting anything, but I figured what the heck, I'd give it a try. So you can imagine my shock when I actually got a letter of congratulations in the mail. It was like my inheritance had been answered. Being able to attend Tunxis Community College has become so much more than just earning a degree. I've made friends in a variety of age groups from 18 to 85. I performed in the theater production of The Real Inspector Hound, in which I established a fan base among many faculty members. I am co-vice president of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. Last semester, my research paper was nominated for an award and took runner-up, earning a spot in the School of Anthology. And currently I am working at the Academic Support Center as a English tutor. But my greatest achievement is being a positive role model for my children. Because while all this was happening, they were watching me. And my oldest daughter decided to go back to school, and she's now attending Tunxis as well. We don't share any of the same classes, but we do share lunch on occasion, and we have so much more to talk about. In June, I'll be graduating from Tunxis, and will have to choose another school for both my bachelor's and master's degree. It's my hope I'll have the ability and resources available to afford this venture so that I can continue this rewarding journey. I want to thank the Tunxis Foundation and all its sponsors for helping me make this possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jackie, and for everyone in the room, that is in a nutshell why we do what we do. It's also important for people to realize that a number of the people who attend Tunxis Community College are not fresh out of high school. They're adults who are either looking to re-enter the workforce in a different career or a different capacity, or simply to continue their education either on a degree course or by taking individual courses. It's now my distinct pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for this morning. As I said, Sam Kennedy is with the Boston Red Sox. He's the president of Fenway Sports Management, which is much bigger than the Red Sox. And for those of you who got solicitations from us and said, I'm not going to come, I'm a Yankee fan. My response is that Sam is not here exclusively to talk about the Red Sox, although he may mention them. He's here to talk about winning strategies. So we're very glad to have Sam with us this morning. Fenway Sports Group is one of the largest sports media and entertainment companies in the world, with a portfolio that includes some of the most storied clubs and venues in worldwide sports, including the Red Sox, Fenway Park, and Liverpool FC, the English Premier League football club. Since he joined the Red Sox in 2002, Mr. Kennedy and his staff have increased sponsorship revenues by more than 250%, and the season ticket base by 30%. Revenue for the Boston Red Sox has increased by more than 12% annually, the fastest growth in Major League Baseball. Prior to joining the Boston Red Sox and FSM, Kennedy was the executive director for corporate partnerships and broadcasting for the San Diego Padres. He attended Trinity College in Hartford, where he played baseball and earned a bachelor's degree in American Studies. We're certainly happy to have him back here in Connecticut with us this morning. Will you please join me in welcoming Sam Kennedy.
Everybody. Frank, thank you for that very nice introduction and warm welcome. I think the most important part of my introduction and title is to say that I'm a very, very lucky guy because I have friends in Connecticut, a lot of friends, but I didn't know just how good of friends they were. But now I'm realizing some of them actually got up at 6 o'clock in the morning to come here today. So I now know the true meaning of my friendship with my Connecticut crowd. So I have to, before I begin, I need to say hello and give a big shout out to my buddies from ESPN who are here. I cannot believe you guys are out of bed. I am probably, next to my 8-year-old son, I'm probably the biggest ESPN fan on the planet. All apologies to the New England Sports Network and my colleagues back up in Boston. But I want to extend a warm welcome this morning to Tim Scanlon, Jed Drake, Mike Ryan, Sam McCleary, and all of your colleagues from ESPN. Thank you very much for being here. It's great to see you guys. Another guy who hates to get out of bed early in the morning, actually usually doesn't go to bed. He usually just goes all night and keeps it going, is a longtime friend and colleague. In fact, this gentleman without this gentleman, I wouldn't be here today. The Red Sox ownership team, the Fenway Sports Group ownership team wouldn't be in place where they are today. He literally changed history when he joined John Henry and Tom Werner and Larry Lucchino's bid to buy the Red Sox. And this gentleman and I started work on the very same day back in 2002 in Connecticut. Is very, very lucky to have him. That's Chuck Steedman from AEG and the Excel Center. Chuck, where are you? So was I. Thank you for being here this morning, Chuck. And finally, there's a saying about the gentleman who was nice enough to invite me here on behalf of Tunxis Community College, and that's the man that I know that we have a saying about him: you can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him, and that is Chuck Pagano. Chuck, thank you very much. It is again, it's an honor and a privilege to be here on behalf of Fenway Sports Group. We are in the middle of a very, very exciting time, and I thought I'd speak to you today a little bit about the business side of our operation. But before we do that, I thought it would be appropriate to come down to Connecticut. I know we're right on the dividing line of loyalties within Major League Baseball, and tell you that I am here today to officially turn the page on the 2011 season. It's over. It's over. Thank you. We, as you know, we had a very disappointing end to the season. It was a month long where we went 7-20. I don't have to tell you guys, extremely disappointing, and the fallout after that was even more painful. But I think that's what makes sports so great. The highs are very high and the lows are very, very low. So what we're going to do today, the format I hope to make this a little bit interactive and conversational. And to do that, because I know the ESPN guys are not shy, but for the rest of you in the room who I don't know that well, I wanted to plant this seed in the back of your mind so when we get to the second half of the presentation, you're ready to participate. We're going to do some Q&A. I don't see Dan Shaughnessy from the Boston Globe here, so this is completely off the record. You can ask anything you want about baseball, about soccer, about cable television, about LeBron James, anything you want to ask me about, and you will get a truthful answer as long as it stays off the record, off of Twitter, off of Facebook, off of ESPN.com. And so we can really have some fun with this. And if you're shy about asking questions, I brought along some props to bring you along. So I've got some gifts, and there's a rule to this game. Here's how it's going to work. You're going to ask me a question, and for having the courage to ask me a question, you're going to receive a gift. Everybody gets a gift. Now, the difference between the type of gift you get is directly correlated to the type of question. So if the question is somewhat complimentary and flattering, maybe you'll get a nice autographed ball or a Red Sox hat or an English Premier League soccer ball. But if the question is a little bit tough or more difficult, if you want to talk about beer or chicken in the clubhouse, you can do that, that's fine. I might have a foam finger in the bag for you to take home. So you be the judge of what type of question you want to ask, and I'll be happy to answer them. But just remember those rules, because they do apply to everyone. So, Mike, if we could get into the presentation here, and I'm going to try and, it's early in the morning, but I've had Starbucks, even though we're sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts. I apologize if there's any Dunkin' people in the room. I thought we'd give you just a brief overview of who we are, because our company, since Chuck and I began at the Red Sox back in 2002, there's been a dramatic overhaul to our company, Fenway Sports Group. We are no longer your father's Oldsmobile, if you will. When Chuck and John Henry and Tom Warner came together back in 2002, the Yawkey Trust was selling a certain set of assets. And those assets are listed right here on the left side of the screen. 100% of the Boston Red Sox, 100% of the real estate associated with the team, at the time about 700,000 square feet of real estate in the Back Bay area of Boston, and an 80% interest in our regional sports network, NESN, New England Sports Network. At the time, that was a $700 million transaction. I think, Chuck, you just wrote a check, didn't you? It was a $660 million acquisition, $40 million of assumed debt, putting the total purchase price at $700 million. And I think the local media and the business community thought, wow, these guys are nuts. What are they doing? That is a huge price to pay. Well, we continue to invest in Fenway, in its physical structure, into the team, into the fan experience, and we continue to invest into NESN. Our team at NESN was very smart. They got involved with HD and made some major investments, so we had some early victories on and off the field. Our principal owner, John Henry, is a visionary. I guess I have to say that because I work for him. But he is a visionary and thought that there might be a way to build this company up to be more than just a baseball team, more than just a regional sports network. And he is an investor by background and believes heavily in two principles: blue chip brands and blue chip people. And the first thing we did after the NESN acquisition was go out and form a vehicle to try and explore opportunities in sports and entertainment. And in 2004, Chuck and myself and others were involved with creating Fenway Sports Management. And that was basically a marketing company that was really put together to explore new business opportunities and specifically explore investment opportunities. That led us to a long exploration in the world of NASCAR, among other leagues. And in 2007, we closed on a 50% interest in what was called Roush Racing at the time, one of America's largest NASCAR teams, and we formed a 50-50 partnership with Jack Roush. That investment, we rebranded the team Roush Fenway. That investment has been very, very successful, both on and off the track. The NASCAR world is going through a very turbulent time right now, but I think the blue chip strategy worked because we've been able to preserve our contracts with our drivers and our contracts with our primary sponsors. But it is a challenge. It keeps us very, very busy. And then the company was radically transformed in 2010, just a little bit over a year ago. In late 2009, John and Tom approached us and said, "We think it's time to buy. The world is in turmoil in terms of the economic state. A lot of people are heading for the hills. They're ducking for cover. So we're not going to do that. We're going to double down, and now is a time when we should invest, not divest." It was a very smart strategy. We went out and met with the commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman. We met with the commissioner of the NBA, David Stern, and we met with a gentleman named Richard Scudamore, who's the president and CEO of the English Premier League. And we were captivated by a few opportunities in hockey and basketball, but we really started to grow fond of this opportunity in the United Kingdom with Liverpool Football Club, given the reach and scope of the brand that Liverpool represents. It was the team was in a state of disarray. We thought there was a lot of opportunity on the pitch and off the pitch, if you will, and we're about a year into that acquisition and investment. So far, so good, but we need to win. In all of these businesses, we have a very aggressive business strategy, but we recognize the most important thing, of course, is winning on the field, winning in the cable ratings, winning on the track, winning on the pitch in soccer, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't win, they're not going to come, and you won't have the revenues to reinvest back into the drivers, into the players, into the talent on the air, so on and so forth. So it's become a large company. You can see the sort of how we're set up. One of the things I think that's been lost, especially in the local Boston media lately, when things don't go well, is the governance of this entity and how it all works. The only thing that the companies really have in common, besides the fact that they're in the sports and entertainment space, is their common ownership. So John Henry and Tom Werner and their limited partners own Fenway Sports Group, and their proportionate equity in Fenway Sports Group is identical at each of these businesses. So all of these companies are owned by John and Tom and their partners, and they're run by individual executives and management teams at each entity. John and Tom, when the Red Sox went 7-20 and fell out of the playoffs, the natural reaction was, well, they're losing focus. You know, they're not focused on the Red Sox, they're focused on Roush Fenway Racing, or they're focused on soccer. And we certainly understand that criticism, but it's sort of illogical to think that John Henry or Tom Werner actually run the Red Sox day to day, or they run Liverpool Football Club day to day. You know, great business people who own their own businesses and companies hire great people to worry about them and look after them day to day. So each business unit has an executive that runs their team day in and day out. So I thought what we do is just go through each business and kind of what we try and do and at each company, and then get into some of the Q&A, because I know you guys are looking forward to some prizes. Mike, maybe we could keep it going here, and I'll try and move relatively quick through each. Chuck will remember this slide. This has been our mission statement since day one in Boston. Every good company has a mission statement. You can see ours here. I won't read them for you, but you can see them, and hopefully over the last 10 years, we arrived in 2002, over the last 10 years, we've let our actions speak louder than our words. The first goal is obviously winning, fielding a team worthy of the fans' support. We were one of the only ownership groups that was committed to preserving and protecting Fenway Park. We've invested over $285 million into the facility since we've been there, all private money. The returns on that from a financial perspective have been great, but more importantly, the fan experience, we hope, has improved at Fenway. Being here today is an example of marketing the team to a broad region. We're not the Boston Red Sox. In fact, we don't really feel like we own the team. We sort of feel like we're stewards of the team. And in New England, the 14 million people that make up New England really own the Red Sox, and we're sort of passing through. Being active participants in the community is very important for every sports team. You have to give back. Given the fact that the brand is so powerful and people love and care about the Red Sox so much. Number 5 seemed a bit trite. Yeah, sure, you're going to win a World Series, but you have to say it at your first press conference, right? If you come in and you buy the Red Sox after not winning the World Series at the time, after 84 years, you have to tell people that your goal is to win the World Series. And thankfully, we've been able to do that twice in our 10 years. And the good news is people are just as hungry for a third as they were before, which we weren't sure that was going to be the case, but it absolutely is. Our business is simple. It's fueled on revenue growth because as we generate revenues, we're able to reinvest them into 2 areas: player payroll and Fenway Park improvements, and obviously covering all of our operating expenses. We've experienced dramatic growth in that area, and it's been great to be able to reinvest those revenues. And I'll tell you, our partners have not taken any distributions since coming to Boston. They've invested 100% of any profits back into the company, which most of the world doesn't know. They don't get credit for it. They don't like to talk about it. But there are a lot of sports team owners that don't approach their business that way, and that has been very, very healthy for Fenway Sports Group. We can go to the next couple slides. Just some highlights of the team. We were blessed with arguably the best baseball operations staff in baseball, led by Theo Epstein. Kind of funny to say, former colleague Theo Epstein. Watch out for those Chicago Cubs. I will tell you, they're in good hands. But one of the things that Theo did and focused on was managing people, and he had a succession plan in place. And I know that Ben Charrington and his team will continue the winning ways of the last 10 years. These are just some stats. You can see we've invested very, very heavily in player payroll. It's kind of funny, we get credit for being sort of Moneyball focused and focusing on sabermetrics. That's only part of the equation. As you can see, we have participated in the free agency game, and we've invested heavily, very heavily in player payroll. We're nowhere close to investing what the Yankees invest in player payroll. If Larry Lucchino, my boss, were here, he'd say the evil empire. We're nowhere close to the Yankees, but we try to keep up with them. We absolutely do. And it's been a great decade in terms of going back and forth with those guys. But the hallmark of our baseball operation has really been scouting, drafting, and player development. That's where players like Dustin Pedroia, Jonathan Papelbon, Daniel Bard have all come out of, Jacoby Ellsbury, and so on and so forth. So those are the players that have contributed to these championship teams, and we're going to continue that under Ben's leadership. Go to the next slide. I talked about the investment in Fenway Park. Since Chuck and I arrived, we've expanded capacity about 10%. So we haven't turned Fenway into anything other than still the smallest and most intimate ballpark in baseball. But we were very lucky that we were able to add seats into areas that really needed them, especially the club seating, the suites, the Green Monster seats, the right field roof seats. And we've added just under 5,000 seats and increased capacity to the ballpark by less than 15%. But really, these improvements have transformed Fenway, and we're lucky. In April, we celebrate our 100th anniversary of Fenway Park, which will be a special time for us. We completed these improvements last year. Mercifully, we're done. We had a capital budget presentation to our partners each and every year for the last 10 years, which could be a painstaking process. It was all private money, and we needed to seek partner approval for every investment that we made. Larry Lucchino and specifically Janet Marie Smith, who is a brilliant design architect, she's now with the Baltimore Orioles, really get the credit for improving Fenway into what it is today. And we'll get into this in a little bit, but we've tried to use Fenway for more than just baseball over the past 10 years because we own the land, we own the ballpark, and we feel it should be active more than 81 nights a year. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll go to the next slide. These are just some before and after pictures. The ESPN guys know that the TV trucks used to be parked out in the big concourse. We had to find another spot for those as we transformed that into the big concourse. The guiding principle of Fenway over the last 10 years has been we need to find more seats, more space, and provide more information to our fans. You can see what we've done with the Green Monster. We added 274 seats and 150 standing room positions over the left field wall. And of course, we added lots and lots of advertising. Our fans, believe it or not, have responded very, very well, because every time we add advertising, we add fan amenities. And every time we add advertising, we demonstrate that we're going to invest that revenue back into the players, back into the ballpark experience. Probably the most significant improvement at Fenway was irrigating Yawkey Way, taking over Yawkey Way and making it a part of the ballpark. It's a city street that abuts Fenway, and on game days, we actually move the gates outside of Gate A and Gate D and create a concourse space so people can have more milling around room. I mentioned 700,000 square feet. We have the smallest footprint in all of Major League Baseball, which is a benefit, but it also hurts you because it could be cramped, and we've tried to provide more breathing room at Fenway over the years with these renovations. Go to the next slide. Some more before and after pictures. For those of us who grew up around Boston, you remember what Fenway used to look like. There's the right field roof. To have the vision that Janet had to add seats above the right field roof, incorporating a sponsorship deal, in this case Budweiser. We created a kind of a party deck area out in right field. And I think what we're sort of most proud of, you can see the EMC Club and the State Street Pavilion, sort of the before and after, the suites. Everything we've done, we've tried to live by the Hippocratic oath of doing no harm. We want to make Fenway feel like it's always been the way it is. We've added modern amenities, but we want to do no harm to the core being of Fenway as we celebrate its 100th anniversary. Go to the next. I talked about alternative uses of Fenway. One of the things we were probably most excited about was following in the footsteps of the Chicago Cubs and creating hockey at Fenway. We had the NHL's Winter Classic back in 2010. We expanded the programming of the rink because there was such demand for people to use the ice. We had a college game the following weekend. We had public skating. We had youth groups. We had high school teams. And it was so popular that we're bringing it back this January to sort of kick off our 100 years of Fenway celebration. So Frozen Fenway 2012 will return on January 1st and run through January 16th. And we're going to celebrate New England and outdoor hockey in Fenway Park all at the same time. So we're very, very excited about that. Probably the most challenging project we worked on also came in the summer of 2010 when we got the crazy idea that we should try and host a soccer match at Fenway. Soccer hadn't been played at Fenway in 60 years. Our groundskeeper, Dave Meller, God bless him, after we heavily sedated him and told him that we were going to play soccer during the season. The team was in Texas. It was July 21st, and they absolutely delivered. We had Celtic from the Scottish Premier League and Sporting Lisbon from Portugal. We sold over 33,000 tickets for this match. We segregated the fans sort of the way they do traditionally in European football, and it was just a great, great night. Nesson covered it in HD. The ballpark looked beautiful. It was a great match, and the experiment worked very, very well. So we'll talk a little bit about Liverpool, but believe it or not, this was 3 weeks before we got the call from the investment banker pitching us on Liverpool Football Club. I remember John Henry and Tom Werner walking down on the field. I was so happy. The weather was okay, and the team showed up. The fans were coming in, and they looked at me and said, "Are we going to make money on this?" I said, "I hope so." I said, "Good, we're going out to dinner." And they left. Not exactly diehard soccer fans, or so I didn't think. And 3 weeks later, we're looking at Liverpool Football Club as an acquisition. So it just shows you don't judge a book by its cover. You can go to the next slide. Our marketing has been very aggressive. This is actually an area that, one of the areas that Chuck Steedman led when he was with us at the Red Sox. we've tried to reach out beyond the walls of just New England. The Red Sox have such a passionate following and fan base. We were lucky enough to play games over in Tokyo in 2008 after signing Daisuke Matsuzaka. And an idea that Chuck came up with and announced, I think, before talking to anybody else, after winning the World Series, he decided that we should bring the trophy to all 351 cities and towns. It's a great thing to say, but it's another thing to actually do it. And I think it took about a year, but we made it to every city and town in Massachusetts. It was such a special time for Massachusetts, for New England, that we thought it should be shared by everyone, sort of following in the tradition of the Stanley Cup. You can go to the next slide. In terms of being active participants in the community, we've quickly established the largest sports team foundation in baseball. Our players get very actively involved, and we've given away between $4 and $5 million a year to local New England and Boston area charities with a specific focus on kids. Obviously, we have a partnership with the Dana-Farber. We focus on healthcare, education, and recreation. And finally, the last Red Sox slide, we had to honor this commitment, reversing the curse. I did believe in the curse, by the way, because I'm from Boston, but a lot of my colleagues didn't, and I think that's why we were able to finally get over the hump. And it was really special to be a part of those 2 World Series championships, and hopefully we'll be back there in October of 2012. If you go to the next slide, we'll talk just for a minute about the other businesses, and then we'll get into the Q&A. NESN has been an extremely important part of our business. It's a marketing vehicle for the team. It's our rights holder. We carry the Red Sox. We carry the Bruins. We carry some original programming. And the network has done a great job helping us deliver our message to New England. They've invested, as I mentioned, heavily in HD technology. They're investing in their digital strategy right now. The folks at ESPN know far better than I do about where the future of cable television and television in general is going, but it's been a great success story, and you have to give, we do not deserve any credit for this at Fenway Sports Group. The founding mothers and fathers of NESN were the prior Red Sox regime, and the network started over 25 years ago when no one even knew what a regional sports network was. So they deserve a ton of credit now. You see stories in the paper about the Los Angeles Dodgers potentially selling for $1.5 billion, $1.6 billion. That's all because of the power of the content associated with these regional sports networks. So it's, Chuck, if you're interested in buying the Dodgers, let's talk after the breakfast. You can go to the next slide. FSM is our sales and marketing company. That group is really a sales arm of Fenway Sports Group. It's a standalone company with its own P&L, about 20 employees, but really its mission is to drive revenue to the parent company. We thought that given that we were starting to collect a lot of these blue chip properties and assets, we could attract highly talented sales and marketing executives to come work for Fenway Sports Group and use their contacts to drive revenue, create events, and work with the Red Sox, work with NESN, work with Liverpool, work with Roush Fenway, and drive revenue to the parent company. It's housed right at Fenway Park. We've got some of the most talented sales and marketing executives in sports, and there's kind of a boiler room mentality. It's probably like the ad sales department at ESPN. These men and women are out there every day calling on advertisers, calling on agencies, all trying to drive revenue to the parent so we can continue to invest in the teams and the properties that we own. Go to the next slide. This is how we view ourselves at FSM. We're at the center of the universe. I don't know that the rest of the company looks at us this way, but it gives you a picture of how we operate. FSM works hard, as I said, to drive revenues to the subsidiaries that are owned by FSG. You can see between all the companies, our revenues last year, 2011, will surpass $1.1 billion. And that's obviously the collection of all the companies. So FSM sits in there trying to drive revenue. So if we're working with Coca-Cola on a project for the Red Sox, we'll try and get them interested in Liverpool and Roush and NESN and vice versa. Leads will start at one company and then you can move them on to others. We do have some clients at Fenway Sports Management that are not owned by Fenway Sports Group. We have a few of them, and you can see those. They're sort of outside the circle. It's not that they don't get a lot of focus, but to be honest, they don't get the priority and the top focus that the companies that are owned by FSG. And we make no bones about that, and our clients know that that's the way we have to operate. So we do work for MLB.com, the company that runs the 30 Major League Baseball websites. We sell all the advertising. We represent the Boston College Athletic Department, the Deutsche Bank Championship, which is a PGA Tour event in Boston. And last year, right after the Liverpool deal, we entered into a strategic partnership, which was very controversial in Boston, with LeBron James of the Miami Heat. We formed a business partnership with him to work on his off-court activities, specifically representing him in Asia for some business deals. And it's funny, you read the press clippings on that deal in Chicago or New York or LA, and people say, oh, this is a forward-thinking, kind of unique deal, maybe buy low opportunity, given what happened with LeBron and his move from Cleveland to Miami. And in Boston, it was deal with the devil. So we recognize we were not tone deaf to what that might mean. We did talk to our friends at the Celtics before we did the deal, and they were very supportive, and they understood what we were trying to achieve with that relationship. You can go to the next slide, please. Thanks. This just shows you sort of how the philosophy at FSM, how we operate. We'll work with different corporations. We'll talk to them about a relationship with one of our properties, whether it's Boston College or the Red Sox, and try and get them interested, see if it meets their marketing needs, and then hopefully we can convert them to doing business with us in other areas. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you'll have multiple relationships in different categories, but it's all served to try and drive revenue to the parent company. In the case you see down here, it's all about relationships. An old colleague of mine in Chuck's is a guy named Mike D, who's the CEO of the Miami Dolphins. He came to us and said, hey, I'm looking for a naming rights partner for Joe Robbie Stadium down in Miami, and we were able, it was a casual conversation, but we were able to get a Boston-based company, Sun Life Financial, to step up and name that stadium. So we do cherry pick kind of one-off opportunities from time to time, and it's all about the relationships with the people that we have in sports. We'll keep going here. This is just an example of some of the projects, additional projects that FSM works on, whether it's the hockey, soccer, road trips with the team, fan photo, a business that we created to take pictures of individuals at different ballparks and stadiums around the country. We ultimately sold that business back in 2007, but it just shows you sort of the diverse range of offerings that we have. And I think the next slide will take us into NASCAR and Roush Fenway Racing. Given that this, I mentioned, was a 50% interest, we are not involved day-to-day with the operations of Roush Fenway. Fenway Sports Management just serves to help selling in the sponsorship community, working with Jack Roush and Steve Newmark on the business side. They are, a bad pun, but they are a well-oiled machine. They don't need us to help them win races on the track. They're doing just fine. But from a business perspective, they've tapped into us and our network for corporate sponsors, because 85 to 90% of NASCAR teams' revenues come from sponsorship. So that's why the partnership made sense. You can see we made it was actually a $62.5 million investment back in 2007. The investments worked very, very well. Hopefully we'll see some asset appreciation, but on a return basis, we'll have all of our money back from that investment by the end of fiscal year 12. So our partners have been very pleased that it's, again, diversified our operation a little bit. And the last slide here talks about Liverpool. This is our newest venture, probably the most daunting. Getting involved with a sport 4,000 miles away is obviously the biggest sport in the world. It's incredible how powerful soccer or football really is. We have fans all over the world. We have season ticket holders that travel literally thousands of miles to come to matches each weekend at Anfield from all different parts of the United Kingdom, from different parts of Europe. And this brand is probably one of the most powerful in all of sports. it's probably least recognizable, and football is least understood in the United States. But thanks to ESPN, thanks to Fox Soccer, my kids are 8 and 6, they're able to now watch soccer, the best soccer in the world, live in HD on Saturday and Sunday mornings. Doesn't get any better than that in terms of an opportunity to grow a sport. We've been hearing, all of us in this room have been hearing about soccer will be big, it's coming. Well, we made a bet that it will eventually come to America and be popular here, and I believe that what the folks at ESPN and Fox are doing really will help grow the sport, because now kids can see these players, they can see the uniforms, they can understand how fast the game it is, how incredibly powerful these athletes are, and why it's so popular around the world. Americans are very, very smart, savvy sports fans, and I think the MLS has done an amazing job, but I think fans know that the best players in the world don't play here in the United States. They don't play here. They play in England, most of them. Some of them play in Spain, some of them play in Germany, some of them play in Italy. But they don't play in the United States, and that's the challenge, and Americans know that. So hopefully through technology we'll be able to build the coverage of the Premier League, and specifically of Liverpool Football Club. In football, it's a very similar business model to baseball. You have your tickets, your sponsorships, your broadcast rights, your concessions, your parking. But what you also have in football, which you don't have in baseball, is a business or economic impact from winning. If you qualify for the top 4 slots for what's called the Champions League in English Premier League, you get into the Champions League, which is the international competition governed by UEFA, and the Champions League is a huge economic boon to your operation. You generate an extra 25 million pounds minimum, close to $40 million US annually if you're able to get into that competition. We have not been there for many years, certainly not been there since we acquired the club, so that's the goal. We're investing heavily. We had a partners meeting yesterday at Fenway Park, and we had our Liverpool colleagues over explaining why we need to continue to invest in players, because the end result will hopefully be to get us into Champions League on a consistent basis, and that's what it's all about. You need to be there. Go to I think it's the last slide. Great, that's it. Hopefully I didn't go on too long. I thought I'd leave these logos up there on the screen so you can see again who we are and what we're trying to achieve. And now I think I'd like to open it up for some questions. Good, I see hands going up all over the place, but I have to start with my friend Jed Drake. Yes, Jed.
All righty, Sam. This is not a Red Sox question.
Good.
With Liverpool, when are we going to see Liverpool, A, at Fenway in an exhibition, and then B, ultimately in a Premier League game?
Well, thank you for that question. That's a very good question, so I'm going to find something good in the gift bag here. The question is, when are we going to see Liverpool at Fenway? We're hoping that we're going to see Liverpool at Fenway on July 25th, 2012. We're still working through the schedule.
Sam, that's my bag.
Chuck wants the whole bag.
No, that's my bag.
Oh. Here, have Chuck's bag. That was easy. Chuck is a very generous guy. All right, let's see. That's a very nice question from Jed. Allowed me to talk about Liverpool coming to Fenway. I know he's no stranger to having a cold one at the ballpark. How about a cup holder and a Red Sox hat for Jed?
All right.
Thank you very much. And the second part of your question was...
Premier League playing here.
Premier League. It's funny, the Premier League plays 38 matches each season. 19 at home and 19 on the road. We would desperately like to have a 39th match played somewhere, hopefully someday in the United States, and have a real match, not a friendly match. Right now, the environment is such that it is It has fallen on deaf ears. The commissioner or CEO, Richard Scudamore, has tried to push this agenda forward. He's a very commercially driven CEO, but the supporters are against it. It's a very traditional, kind of old school sport. I think they look at us coming in, and we need to be very respectful of their traditions and their history. In one meeting, I remember Tom Werner saying, can't we just put a 2-minute commercial break somewhere between the start of the first half and the end of the first half? And those American marketing ideas are good ideas, but they need to probably stay in America, because you can't challenge the authenticity of football. So I don't anticipate a 39th match anytime soon, but I do anticipate Liverpool coming to America in the summer of 2012. Hopefully we'll play 4 or 5 matches. We toured Asia this past summer and North America in 2012. Let's go back over this side. There's a question. Yes, sir. Stand up.
Sam, can you tell us a little bit about what the Sox are doing to promote their brand internationally, Japan, South America, Europe?
Sure. Great question. We have a limit on what we can do with our brand. We work hard. Hopefully we're as aggressive as any Major League Baseball team. We have our CEO is on the international committee of Major League Baseball, Larry Lucchino. That's how we were able to go to Tokyo back in 2008 and play games over there. The problem for the individual clubs is that we only hold the rights to market ourselves in what's defined as our home television territory. So the 6 New England states is where we can actually run promotions, play games, have games on television, radio, and the like. So if we wanted to go to Taiwan and play a game, a preseason game, we couldn't do that. Those rights are owned by Major League Baseball, and so the league sort of handles the international marketing. So it's very interesting, and that's one of the reasons why we got involved with the Premier League. We thought that we have just as big or even a bigger brand in Liverpool, and you have all those rights to conduct business worldwide without any interference or restrictions from the league. So we do some stuff, but it's always through the league. Great question. We'll save the foam finger for someone else. Let's see here. How about a Red Sox pen and a Wale the Green Monster baseball? Maybe hopefully you have kids. Thank you. Let's go over to this side. See if anyone's awake. Yes, there, in the back. All right, stop right there. You're ahead. Hold on. See your hand. There you go. Good catch.
Soccer player.
That's a tough question. Give me that ball back. We are looking right now at what we're going to do with Anfield. It's incredible, the analogy that's out there, the Fenway Park analogy to the Anfield situation. The two situations are nearly identical. You have an iconic, beloved ballpark in Fenway that most people thought needed to be torn down until Larry and Janet got their hands on it back in 2002. Anfield is one of the most iconic sporting venues literally in the world. It's over 125 years old. It sits in a part of Liverpool that has obviously been there for 125 years. Families go there, they know how to walk up, they know where to park. It's an intense atmosphere. Going to a match there, it's hard to describe. It's sort of like a Red Sox-Yankee game, but at a whole nother level, just because if you think about it, there's really only one major sport in the whole country. You've got rugby, you've got a few other sports going on, but soccer is everything. And to replace Anfield, to me, would be a crime, because it represents such incredible history, and it's such an amazing experience, and generations sort of pass down that experience. The problem is you have the realities of the facility and the building itself. Structurally, it's okay, but there's not a lot of opportunity to create more capacity, which we need. There's certain rules and regulations in Liverpool that we have to abide by. We have about 46,000 seats at Liverpool. We think the right capacity would be about 65,000. We do have a permit to build a new facility directly across the street in an area called Fenway Park. The city has basically given us that land, but there's no public funding whatsoever available. Everyone knows what's going on in the United Kingdom right now. So we would, if we're going to do it, we're going to have to figure out how to finance it, who would build it, who would want to name it, so we could get the appropriate levels of debt, debt financing in place. So we're evaluating that now. I think ultimately we probably will build a new stadium at some point. As much as I personally think we should try and preserve and protect and enhance Anfield, it's just a different situation than Fenway Park, given where it sits in the neighborhood. So very good question, difficult question. I already gave you a baseball, so you're done. Yes, ma'am, right there.
Yes, getting into the EPL for American players has been very difficult because there are certain rules and regulations that you have to have. Having an American-owned team over there, do you think that will ease the barriers to entry for those players?
It's a great question. I think the short answer is yes, because I think American players are going to be the beneficiary of the global sort of scouting and player development that's going on in football right now. Every major team, the 20 teams in the Premier League, the teams of the Championship Division, which is the second level down, have really transformed over the last 10 years, and they have scouts and football operations people all over the world. We actually just signed an American player from California who's going, a 17-year-old who's going out to our academy in Liverpool. So I think you'll see now that the world is truly flat and people are seeing the academy. You can go online tonight on the Liverpool FC TV and look at our academy, look at our players, see where they train, see what it's like to go to a match at Anfield. Excuse me, and that didn't happen 10 years ago. So kids in America who are playing soccer, I think, have these goals and dreams of playing for the best teams possible, and I think you'll see more and more of that happen as the game continues to penetrate the United States. It's amazing. We are truly the last domino to fall for soccer. I mean, soccer is the biggest game in the world. By far, not even close. There's not a close second. Nowhere, not even close. But here in America, people don't understand that and don't get that. I didn't get that. I still am learning about it. But when you grow up here, it's football, American football, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, auto racing. You don't have that image of soccer. So I think you'll see more and more Americans going over there and playing. Let's see, we got it's a good question about baseball. What else do we have here? We got some hats. I'm trying to find some funny stuff. Let's see. Got a Red Sox pen and a baseball. Hand that back to the young lady. Let's go way in the back. Yes, you waving your hand. Yes.
First of all, I want to say this is a very flattering photo.
You know what? She gets the rules of this game. As you can tell from that picture, a couple things. I clearly have a face for radio, and I also clearly need a vacation because I've never seen such a pale person in my life, but that's another subject.
But I do have a question.
Yes.
I have a daughter majoring in sports management in college, and I'm wondering, given the economy today, what advice you would give to students graduating trying to get into the sports industry?
Sure. Very good question. It's a very simple answer, in my opinion. There is no right way, no wrong way. I went to Trinity College here in Hartford, Connecticut, and I think I've always been a bit strange. When I was 12 or 13, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my career because I knew I wasn't going to play baseball. If I was lucky enough to make the Trinity baseball team, which for those of you who know Coach Decker, he took mercy on me and allowed me to sit on the bench my first 2 years so I could sort of be a part of the team. In fact, a funny story, I went to Coach Decker after my sophomore year, and I said, Coach, I'm thinking about going to study abroad next year. There's this very cool program over at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, but I'm really worried. I've missed the baseball season. And he looked up at me and he said, you should go to Scotland. So I knew at that point my career was over, and I had always known that I was not a great athlete, especially not a great baseball player. So I focused on, I was always intrigued by kind of the back of the house activities. I would go to Fenway Park a lot with my dad and watch the concessionaire work. I'd watch the guys selling beer, and I'd watch the security guys before the game go down into the dugout and talk to the manager. It always fascinated me. What are they doing down there? What are they talking about? What are those guys up in the press box doing? So I was always interested in sports, and I knew that I wanted to work in sports, not necessarily baseball, but I was intrigued by it. So I just focused on getting internships, getting an internship. That is the answer. It's just like business. It's not what you know, it's who you know, it's relationships. If you can just get in somehow, anyway, into a loosely related field, if you want to work in television and your dream is to work for ESPN, try and get an internship there. But if you can't, get an internship at a local over-the-air television station, or a newspaper, or a sports team, or a sports agency. Try and get in anywhere you can, because it is a small community. You can see, just coming to this breakfast here this morning, I've got 6 or 7 friends and colleagues all through the sports world. And once your daughter gets in, she'll start to make those connections, and then her talents will take her from there. So thank you. You gave me a chance to tell my story about my illustrious baseball career. Get a hat for your daughter and a Red Sox pen for your daughter.
How about an internship?
And maybe an internship. We are always hiring. Yes, ma'am, over in the corner.
So not only are you a very good speaker, you're obviously a very young and accomplished young man.
Hold on a second. Here, you take Chuck's bag.
But seriously, when do you think the U.S. is going to be a real player, maybe even have a shot in the World Cup?
In soccer.
In soccer.
It's a good question. I am not qualified to answer that. I'm not trying to duck the question. I just don't know enough about the competitive side of soccer and football. Chuck Steedman, I'd actually, maybe you could help me out here, my colleague. Maybe you could take a stab at answering that question. Chuck was a very accomplished soccer player himself in college, and still plays, and has a much better sense of soccer than I do in terms of competition.
Thanks, Sam. I defer to Jed. In my opinion, 2022 is the watershed year for the U.S. The rate of development that's happening right now at the youth national team levels, as Sam said, the captain of the U.S. U17 team just signed with Liverpool to attend their academy. Players in America, even though the club system has been completely overhauled, still don't have the development opportunities that players do, especially in Europe and in Brazil and Argentina, the world leaders. So as more and more American youth players get into the European club system, into the academies, get into the Brazilian academy system, that's when the overall talent pool is going to escalate for the U.S. And I think it's a reasonable goal to think that the U.S. could be a top 4 qualifier in 2022. I'd love to say this before, but I think that would be a little bit of a pipe dream. We've got a long way to go.
Thanks, Chuck. It's always good. Always work with people a lot smarter than you. It's key to life. Here's another great question. It's an Adrian Gonzalez t-shirt. Oh, good. Yes, back there. 2 more questions. Okay, good. We'd be here until noon if I kept talking. How about in the back there? Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, I was very happy with the new ownership, with their commitment to continue to improve Fenway Park.
Thank you. You can also stop now.
And as a season ticket holder, we've been very excited to see all the changes over the years. I was wondering if there are any other plans on the table for improvement, further enhancements within the park, and then also as far as beyond the Green Monster. I had always wondered, is there a way to buy property behind the stadium and then build supports there? And actually, since the monster seats have been been so popular to put even more seats of that style up there.
Well, thank you for your comments. And the short answer is no. There are no more major renovations or improvements or enhancements to Fenway planned in terms of the new seating section or supports for structure that you're alluding to. In fact, it's just the opposite. Our strategy, we've worked very, very closely with the preservationist community in Boston to ensure that we keep building density down, we keep heights down. We want to preserve the views of the city from the Seating Bowl at Fenway. We feel that Fenway needs to be a good neighbor, that we're really a part of this special area of the city of Boston. So you won't see Fenway Park go any higher. You won't see, at least under this ownership's regime, you won't see much additional capacity. What I think now that we've sort of turned the page on the 10-year, $285 million renovation, I think what you will see is an ongoing commitment to small capital projects, the range of $3 to $5 million a year, a huge commitment to cleanliness, upkeep. When we cut the ribbon on the fully preserved and protected Fenway Park this April, I think what you'll hear from us is that we're cutting the ribbon not only on America's most beloved ballpark, but on what is truly a living museum. And we're going to make investments in that area, in plaques, display areas, function rooms, meeting spaces, so you can continue to take the tours. We do about 300,000 tours a year of Fenway. We hope to increase that to 500,000 in the coming years, and you'll be able to do a walking tour and stand where Babe Ruth stood, where Ted Williams stood, where Manny Ramirez stood. It'll be a great thing, and I think one of professional sports' only sort of truly living museums. So great question. Got a hat. Since we're running out of time, those at the end get lucky. They get a couple of gifts. How about a dub? My favorite Red Sox player, Dustin Pedroia, and a hat here. If you could pass that back if you don't mind. Thank you. One more? Yeah, yes. Dr. Addy, yes. Yes, please.
I just wanted to mention that there is one logo that's missing from your list there, and that's of an educational institution, and would suggest that when you're ready to expand for a modest investment, you can own a share of the best community college.
Thank you, Dr. Addy. As expected, Dr. Addy, she has definitely stolen the show, although she's looking for money. So I have to deliver the foam finger. Also, a Big Poppy t-shirt. Maybe you'll have someone in your office. Thank you guys very much for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for support. I know there's some Yankee fans here, but for those of you who are Red Sox fans, thank you for supporting us over the past 10 years. We're going to continue to try and honor our commitment to get back to October baseball next fall. So thank you very much for having me.
Sam, I want to thank you for being here with us this morning, for your insights. As a listener to the Boston Red Sox on the radio, I'm well familiar with Terry Francona's habit of heading down to the old dugout for a little green tea before the game. I don't know what your habit is, but as you might know, Bigelow Tea is located in Connecticut, and I'd like to give you this Bigelow Tea presentation box filled with tea, and you can establish your own tradition at Fenway. We promised to get everyone out as early as we can, and we just have a couple more quick items of business. First of all, one more time, I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank Sam for his presentation and his insights. I want to thank Chuck Pagano for getting here, and I want to thank ESPN and all our other sponsors. Very quickly, I'd like to ask the members of the Tunxis Community College Foundation Board to stand. They're interspersed throughout the room, and they'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have at the end of the event. Would the board members stand? And there is some information on the tables about the Tunxis Community College Foundation and the soon-to-be announced Roush Fenway Scholarship. You forgot to bring that up, Sam, so I thought On behalf of the Community College Board, as I said earlier, we had a change in personnel not too long ago. Deidre Tavera had worked for the foundation as our director, and she was really the first professional development person that we brought aboard to help us to move the foundation to new levels. Deidre came to work for us, impressed all of the board members, I have to say educated the board members, taught us the important function of the board, made everyone on the board realize that everyone on the board was expected to be a donor to the foundation, or they could become a board member emeritus at some point in the future. Deidre helped us to professionalize and institutionalize the foundation and its activities. And as our first professional development director, we are certainly grateful to her for all the work that she did. She got an opportunity to go to work for the Hartford Public School System, and as they say, she got an offer she couldn't refuse, and she left us, but she certainly left behind a legacy of much more educated, much more active, much more enthusiastic board of directors, and also, as I said on her recommendation, a replacement that's worked out exceedingly well for us. So, Deidre, we've got a little collection at a board meeting. We're not diverting funds from a scholarship. This was a special collection. We'd like to present you with a little token of our appreciation if you come up here. What I told Deidre when she left us was, come back in November, you'll be proud of the way we're carrying on. And I hope she is. With that, we have some raffle prizes. We have a Jonathan Papelbon baseball. We have a Jason Veritek baseball, and we have an item of foundation apparel. I'd like to ask Catherine Addy, the president of Tunxis Community College, to pick the first winning number. Yeah, fat chance. You can read it too.
581479.
Great. What do you say, Em? How you doing, guy?
It's fixed, Chuck.
You have a preference?
Fix this in.
Thank you. You got it. Thank you. Pick a number before you leave.
You can read it. What number was it?
Almost there. $581,436. Since the president of the college declined to win, pick another number.
Okay.
581341.
Go ahead, Sam. You can read it out loud.
Let's see here. 581421.
Tunxis Foundation jacket. There you go. This concludes our program for today. I want to thank you all very much for being here. There are some Tunxis Foundation stress balls on the table. Please take them with you and use them. We don't want you to associate Tunxis Community College with stress. We want you to associate it with stress relief. Thank you all very much for being here today.